Welcome back to the Blindsiders. I am Ben, and I'm joined here by Brian, and we are here to talk about episode 5 of Survivor 41. Yeah, and it was a doozy of an episode, and we had talked in the preseason and a little bit at the start of the season about how we thought that Yasa was going to be the train wreck tribe or the chaos tribe or whatever. But no, Ua here is is gonna be our Matt Singh of the season, I suppose, or our Oolong.
Yeah,
going down to 2. And then,
know.
Yeah, depending on what's going on next week with his preview, hopefully not going down to 1. We'll see.
Yeah, we shall see. And I gotta say, Ben, for the first time after the episode, I took Boston Rob's advice. I watched some Tough as Nails. And I have to say, I should bring the Amazing Race back.
Yeah, I'm very excited for the new Amazing Race season to come back in the spring, hopefully. I know they're filming it. I believe they wrapped filming it recently in the last few weeks. So
good. I think we're all looking forward to that because Tough as Nails.
Yeah, look, I'm a big fan of Phil Kogan on
Love Phil
in his role filming and the Amazing Race or hosting the Amazing Race. But no offense to him, I believe it's him and his wife who developed the concept of the show. But yeah, definitely not. Doesn't seem like a phenomenally great show. And I've watched a lot of really bad competition reality shows in my life. Too many.
Yeah. And you'll be hearing all about that eventually, everybody. Just wait.
Oh, yeah.
We got plans.
Yeah. I am so excited to talk about Solitary at some point. That's a doozy.
I'm excited to watch it. But, Ben, I'm really excited to talk about this episode because it was almost perfect. They had to ruin it a little bit because you can't have Modern Survivor without, a little bit of ruin. But all in all, pretty good episode.
Yeah, we're gonna have a little bit of a sidetrack in the middle there when we go off about the knowledge is power twist. But excluding that, I thought this was a pretty solid episode. Yeah, I agree. We had a good setup. Good. I thought there was good stuff that we saw on all the tribes, even though, again, Luvu we're getting very little from because they've gone 5 episodes without losing a challenge. I guess they lost their reward challenge, but losing an immunity challenge. Yeah. But the Yasa stuff that we see is also very good, and then obviously the end of the episode was also very good. So let's start off here. I guess what was the one thing from the top of the episode that really stood out to you the most? Was it the Ua stuff or the Yasa stuff?
For me, it was the Yasa stuff, just showing how, even though they're winning now, even though Xander is killing it in challenges, he's still public enemy number 1. No one really trusts him. He can't really do anything to get into the good graces. And I do wonder, will this come back to bite Liana, to bite Tiffany? Because, is this good, or is this, them not understanding where they stand in the game? Let's say we do merge. It's going to be even. Luvu versus the world is even. There are 2 extra votes on the world side, but I don't know. This is the time where they need to be at least faking some solidarity rather than plotting the demise of Xander.
Yeah, if we're counting votes, we have Xander and now Shan. I guess technically Ricard by the end of the episode. And then maybe Shan eventually next episode. We'll see. Have extra votes, and then Deshaun, I believe, also has the extra vote on the Luvu side. If we're assuming that if there were to be a normal merge next episode, which might not be the case, then there would be an 8 to 7, or no, hold on,
it'd be 8 to 7.
It would be 8
votes.
to 7, yeah. 15 total votes, 12 total players disparity against Luvu, despite the fact that they've won every challenge. If we assume that that's what's going to happen. But yeah, I thought this whole sequence was very odd. The first question I have is: Do you think that there is more distrust in Evie than is being played up? Because Evie explained what Xander's idol and advantage and all of that did already, like 7 different times at this point. But Liana and Tiffany still find the need to go digging through Xander's bag to read it themselves.
I mean, I think definitely there's some distrust there. You know, she's really been the only liaison between like the. Well, I guess there's no real sides, but between Xander and her true ally, she's the only one who really like bridges the gap. So I understand why there's a little bit like, are we getting played here? Is this like for real, or is she trying to pull the wool over our eyes?
Yeah, it's weird though, because like it wasn't really framed like that, right? It was framed more so. Well, it was sort of framed like that, I guess, when they were having a conversation at the well. But again, when we look at the like way that the strategy plays out on paper, we talked about this during the Voce vote as well. If you distrust Evie, you don't have power anyways, right? So like, it's just like strategically incorrect to even distrust Evie, because if you don't actually have Evie, you can do nothing regardless, right? You have no power. So it just feels like a pointless exercise. Like a lot of this on the Yasa tribe to me felt like a pointless exercise in just like weird social maneuvering that's going to not actually matter.
Hey, Ben, they've had what, like at this point 6 days out of like 10 where they're not at tribal council. They're bored probably.
Yeah.
It's about the time where people start looking through people's bags, accusing people of stuff, telling each other if you fuck with me you're dead, even though you're in allies with each other, you know, like.
Yeah. Sure. That's good. I'm excited to talk about that. I guess the next question I have then is, what were your thoughts on how Xander handled all of this, and on his decision to say that he wanted to pull in Tiffany over Liana, and then also his handling, revealing this idol information to Tiffany with a very blatant and easily provable or disprovable lie?
I mean, it was bad. I don't know what else to say. Like, It was just so funny. Like, he is very clearly trying to be like, well, I'll just tell her this and she won't question it. And then she like questioned it and he didn't have anything prepared. And then she's like, so where's the other note? And he's like, oh, the one that's like, you found it in immunity idol. And she's like, no, the other one where you have to say the thing like you did at the first challenge. And he was like, what?
Yeah. And this comes back to like the whole silliness of this the wear advantage idol situation anyways. It's just like, you can't hide the fact that you had the idol like you would with a normal idol. Because like at a certain point every single player in the game is just going to know what all of these idols are, just because it's like so obvious when you're like saying these stupid phrases at challenges, and then like everybody who finds the idol tells their allies. You have the entire Ua tribe knows about it because like Brad revealed it and then was voted out. So.
Well, do you want to talk about that aspect of it? Because last week I said, you know, it's kind of interesting that they're kind of doing like open idols, if you will. Like everyone's gonna know where the idols are, probably, provided they're decently socially positioned. And I was like, that's kind of an interesting wrinkle. But no, it's not, because it leads to a very bad twist. The end game was this knowledge is power twist, and I do not like this.
You want to jump straight to that? You want to jump over the Ua idol stuff? You want to jump over like the second pointless conversation about Luvu throwing a challenge?
Yeah, well, we'll get back.
Okay. All right,
We'll
let's
get
just
back to
let's just
that.
rip the
Yeah.
band-aid off. Let's rip the
Yeah.
band-aid off here. Okay, so I'm going to compare the knowledge power twist to in the game of Secret Hitler.
Okay.
There are scenarios where you can get a gun, and hopefully, people listening know how Secret Hitler works, at least sort of, right? But I would compare it to when you're on the fascist team in Secret Hitler, and you get a gun,
Okay.
and like in the game, especially if there's an odd number of players playing, that's essentially like a pseudo win condition, right? Because the fascist player just kills one of the liberal players, it evens things up, and they can force the votes down to a draw, where they basically have like at least a 70 or 80% chance to win at that point. Like it's a soft win condition. And that's essentially what this advantage is, and Liana has just handed it for free, basically. It's insanely overpowered. It's just like psychotic that this got through. Like even like I take back everything that I've said negative about any other Twisted season, because this advantage is just that bad that like it makes all of the other advantages look fine in comparison.
Yeah, I mean, egg on my face for bitching about how many extra votes there were going to be way back when. I would take 1 million more extra votes at this point.
Yeah. Okay. Let's break this down, right? In theory, in like another Survivor season, right? This would actually require some amount of skill.
Right.
Where you have to have, like you said, some kind of social positioning in order to know who could have an idol, who could have an advantage, and if you waste it and use it, and you don't get that person out and you're wrong, you've exposed yourself as being distrustful, and like you face some social repercussion. But in this season, Liana is not even in that great of a spot, and she knows where four idols or advantages are. Four across 3 tribes.
Yep.
She knows where all 3 rare idols are, and she knows that Xander has an extra vote. So it's insane. She could just basically do a double. Like she can have a 2 idol disparity. Like this is advantage is basically worth 2 free idols handed to her for no work.
Yeah, I think to in another season, probably the best case scenario, obviously best case scenario being she snipes an idol from somebody, but like secondary, more like practical use is you're in the majority alliance, you want to vote someone off, you want to make sure they don't have an idol, so you ask them if they have an idol. They say yes, you get the idol. They say no, okay, they don't have an idol. But like in this season, no, too much, way too much.
Yeah, no, I agree. It's something that, like, again, it comes back to I just don't think the production at all thought through any of the interactions with any of these powers and twists.
Right.
Like, they just were, like, they had, like, 7 different teams all coming up with random ideas, and then they all just came together and threw all of their ideas in a basket, and we're just like, okay, we're doing all of them. We don't really have to think about how they, interact with each other and could create completely broken situations.
I mean, I've said it before, but I'll say it again. This is the most LRG/ORG season of Survivor of all time.
Yeah.
Where, like, you're standing there and the person is like, oh, by the way, here's some bullshit that doesn't make any sense. And you're just like, why? Like, why are you putting this in the game? It doesn't make any sense. But, we're here. I feel bad, too, because, like, Mike White, talked Jeff down from his Survivor cryptocurrency economy, whatever the fuck he was going to come up with. And he was like, Jeff, is this fun? And Jeff was like, no. Also, I don't know what fun is. So.
Yeah. I mean, look, you know what is fun? Like, the end game of this episode was fun, where it was just 2, like, people who had, joint control of a tribe, but were also very paranoid and distrustful of each other, and like having this kind of staring contest, and having this who blinks first social situation, where they end up voting together, that we're going to talk about. Like that was very fun. That's like textbook classic Survivor. That's like great, tension and drama, and it's like that's the sort of thing you want to watch Survivor for.
Yeah.
You don't need to watch Survivor for people to be like handed broken twists that like completely negate the entire game for no reason.
Well, Jeff thinks we do actually have to do that, so here we are.
Right.
Okay, we did it. We talked about it. Leave us comments in the down below. Do you love it? Are you one of those people who like inexplicably just has the most wrong takes I ever see and get like tons of like on Twitter? Not going to name any names, but you know who you are.
Yeah, let's. I don't want to glaze over the way, like the mechanic with which this advantage was handed out, where it's one player from the presumable winning tribe, one player from the presumable tribe that are about to go to tribal, and one of them, or each of them is being offered the opportunity to risk their vote. Well, obviously, the player who's about to go to tribal council is not going to risk their vote, and the player who isn't going to go to tribal council is like, yeah, I can risk my vote. Who cares? I'm not going to go to tribal council. So like, literally, there's no intrigue in that at all. It's happened twice, and in both cases, the person who's going to tribal is like, yeah, there's no way I can, justify risking my vote here. You can just have it, and hopefully that'll afford me some sort of good graces.
Yeah. The only move for them to make in that situation.
Yeah, exactly. It's not even like the other. Like it's somehow less interesting than the other versions of these prisoner's dilemma situations they set up, because there's only one decision to be made, and it's the one that's been made twice. So.
Oh boy.
All right. And that sucks, because I want to talk about, eventually, after we get past the other stuff we have to talk about that we, glazed over. Like the Shan and Liana conversation and moment was really nice. And unfortunately, that got, like, super underswiped and undercut by this horrible advantage that came right after for no reason.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
All right. So should we talk about the Ua idol?
Yes, I think this is like one of the most important things that happens in the episode, and then somehow still doesn't end up together.
Right.
Where we open and Genie is like, well, yeah, we all know that Brad got voted out with an idol in his pocket, so I'm gonna go try and find that idol, and then off she goes, and then 5 to 20 minutes later, apparently she found it.
Yeah, really good on a regular season of Survivor. Great stuff for her. Not on this season.
Yeah. Because they know how it works. Brad told Shan how it worked, and then Shan told everybody else after the Brad vote how it worked. And so they know that if they open it, then they will... or Brad also told Jeannie how it worked as well. But they know that if they open it, they will lose their vote until Luvu gets their act together and one of them finds the fucking idol. And so
you guys haven't been to tribal council. What the hell are you doing?
Yeah. Yeah. It's pretty funny. And so they're like, okay. Now Jeannie goes back and she's like, I found the idol, but I haven't opened it yet because I don't want to lose my vote, because we're 3 people and my vote is very important.
Yeah.
What do you think about this?
I mean, it kind of made sense for her. Obviously, she didn't know that they were going to lose the challenge again. By some goodwill with her tribe. It's just such a weird situation to be in, where it's like, wow, the idol is right there, and I cannot take it because it might backfire on me for this weird shit. But it might not. But it might. So I just can't risk it.
Okay, so here's my question. Is the play to instead basically do what they lied about Shan doing, right? Not to do what Shan did, which is take the idol and then lie about saying the phrase, but to actually not take the idol and then say the phrase of the challenge. Because from my understanding, based off of the literal reading of the parchment, as long as all 3 phrases are set at the challenge, all of the idols become active.
Yeah, so I was thinking about this, And I believe it's probably like part of the terms and conditions. It's like you cannot say this phrase unless you take the idol, because that fucks over like two
But,
other people.
but
Because
Shan claimed that she did. So wouldn't they have stopped her from claiming that she did if that was not allowed within the mechanics of the game? Right?
I think
Are you allowed to lie about cheating?
I mean, I think it really depends if someone has a parchment and asks you if you're
Sure.
lying. But no, I think
Yeah, because then if they ask you, you have to tell the truth.
you have to tell the truth. So,
Yeah.
complicated. I think it's so murky. I think the idea is like you have to take it and you have to have the risk, or you can't say the
Okay. Okay. But like, what are they gonna do, right?
They're
Like,
just
what
gonna
are
not
they
let
gonna
you
do?
say it.
No, but what are they gonna like? Have a production assistant come up and put a gag in your mouth?
You're just gonna scream it out. They'll just be like, if you do it, you forfeit your place in the game.
Yeah. Okay, but like, if you don't, if you don't say to the producers beforehand that you're gonna do it, for them to tell you not to do it, right? And you just do it. Like, producers can't do anything. They can't do anything, right?
They can't. Okay, I guess if you Danny Boatwright it and you keep your plans secret from the producers, then they're gonna be in a pickle and they probably will let it go.
Sure, but like, okay, even if they don't allow you to have the idol be active in that case, Shannon Ricard will think that you have an active idol, right?
Yeah.
So that's just as powerful, theoretically. Even if the idol isn't technically active.
In a 3-person tribe, it's just as powerful.
Yeah. So that's my thing. That's how I would play it. That's like the way that I think that is correct to play. But
Yeah.
I don't know. The way that the fucking rules are written is so like unclear, and it's like really poor. It's like they have lawyers on the show, but they have no lawyers that actually look over the like terms and conditions of the advantages, because I'm pretty sure this is like there's like super loopholes here that you can exploit.
No, I think if you did that without telling the producers, they would be forced to let you go for it. I just think they would try not to, but this is part of what we were talking about when you add 18 million twists with like different variations of what has to happen to get them activated. Eventually it gets too muddy to keep track of and to like talk about in hypotheticals for us who were not playing with like all the rules laid out in front of us. We can only like speculate on how the producers would react.
Sure.
And also, I wouldn't even be surprised if the producers haven't had a conversation as deep as we've had in the last 2 minutes about the intricacies of this, and they'd have to like make stuff up on the spot.
I legitimately don't think they thought it through.
Yeah, I mean, I'm never gonna trust again after the game changer Suri moment. Yeah. So
I don't know. I feel like if somebody were to do that, it's like creative enough where I think you should just let them get away with it.
Agreed.
But like again, on Game Changers, there was a situation with the
Suri finesse
the steal
the vote. And
So I don't know. I think at the very least though, if you're Genie, you go for it. Like I can't imagine if I'm in Genie's position, I'm first of all telling them that I'm going to go search for the idol. That's stupid.
I know.
And then telling them that I found the idol and then not even taking it, because like you're asking to get finessed at that point, which is what ends up happening.
Yeah, I mean it's bad. It's really not good.
Yeah.
But at least he takes care of the fire, so that's something.
Yeah, I mean that's the whole like that. Yeah, I mean. I don't know. Maybe I'm being too critical on like it's easier said than done to play like super ruthlessly and to like assume that everyone is trying to screw you over, because I think that at the very least the amount of paranoia, like I would rather be on the Shannon or Card side of the paranoia to no paranoia spectrum than the Genie side, right? And that's evident, I think. I think that point is proven by the end of the episode that that's the correct side to be on. You should always tend towards being more paranoid than less paranoid on Survivor.
So, are we going to the immunity challenge next?
Yeah, sure. We have a brief moment on Luvu where they, talk about throwing the challenge again, and they have to bring in Nasir this time so that he doesn't just win the challenge on his own.
Hey man, can you cool your shit, please? Yeah. Like, what the hell?
I would very much like to vote out Erica before this merge.
Hey, but they do show good respect, as Nasir says to him. He's like, I don't want to do it. And they're like, okay, then we won't do it if you're not on board. So I think they realize...
More so they can't do it if he's not on board.
Yeah, right? Yeah. He's like, I don't want to do it. Okay, well, then I guess we won't because you'll win this challenge by yourself. So... Yeah. I think that's good. And I think Deshaun and Danny both kind of realize, like, there's not a lot of guys in this game left. We got to stick with Nasir as much as we possibly can.
Yeah, I mean, they say that, but, like, going into this next episode, it's only 7-5, right? So it's not, like, a huge disparity.
Yeah, 7-5. Yeah.
So, yeah. I mean, at this point, it's 8-5, but yeah, going into this next episode, it's not like it's like, if it was, like, even 8-4 or, like, obviously, like, 9-3 going in, like, yeah, that would be a significant issue.
What was that, like, San Juan del Sur had, like, a, like, 9-, or, like, 8-4, or 8-3, something, like, ridiculous.
Yeah, for men to women. And then the women all made the end.
Hell yeah, they did. Fuck, that season's so good.
Yeah. It was. I think it was 8-4, right? Because it was the final 3, and then also Baylor.
Yeah, and the Julie was there for a minute, but won't count Julie.
Yeah, actually, maybe it was 7-4 then. I don't know. Regardless, I think the male-female thing is way less of a concern for Luvu than the we're so powerful that the other two tribes are going to be forced to work together, and they're going to have an advantage.
Yeah, the Tang Dang conundrum.
Yes. Yeah, exactly. And that's why we have the intentional Met Sing, and why we can talk about potentially Denise and Malcolm Mark for Shannon Ricard.
I mean, it's possible. It's very possible. But so Ben, I have to say, this flashback at the challenge almost makes up for how bad the flashbacks have been the rest of the season.
How this almost makes up for the terrible flashbacks previously, and also how stupid it is that we have to keep on hearing these phrases over and over again. That's
yeah, because at this point we've been conditioned to understand Luvu's not finding the idol, and then they fucking got us. They got me anyways. I don't know if you had any indication.
I thought they might do this last week. I was prepared for it last week, and I was like, okay, they're not even looking at this point. And this week kind of got me. Like, I always thought that this was a thing they could do, because people have been talking about it. Like, oh, the way that you would actually do a good flashback sequence was this.
Yeah, man, it reminded me. Let's talk about. We talked about LRGs before. Remind me of a season of Survivor Bush, where they hid the hidden immunity idol for the entire game, and it came down to the two tribes, even numbers at the merge, and then right as they were about to read the votes, the guy got up and it did a flashback to way back at the beginning of the game when one of the guys found the idol at the tribal council, and he played it, and that was the defining vote. And I was like, damn, that was pretty good and creative for a fan-made Survivor made in 2010. Yeah. So I'm glad the real Survivor finally caught up to the online Survivor, not just in dumb twists but also in interesting editing.
Yeah, I mean, that's also it's also interesting too for if you're having a multi-episode arc like that, because you have to intentionally leave out any sort of relevant strategy talk around that person having an idol, and that's difficult to do sometimes because like that sort of bonding or like strategizing is pretty common these days on Survivor. Yeah, this is obviously very different because it was just one day. But yeah, Naseer finally finds the idol.
Yep. Good for him. He's very fun. He's definitely winning that Sia money, undoubtedly.
Oh, for sure, yeah. I mean, assuming that Sia's still doing that, I don't know if she is.
Right, she's had some bad publicity lately, so maybe not.
Yeah. But yeah, obviously, I think that like the Naseer is being set up to be like the fan favorite of the season. Very positive arc, very odd arc too, because it seems like every other episode is like the opposite story that's being told about him in the previous one, where it goes from like, oh, Naseer's playing so badly, look at all these people who want to vote him out, to wow, Naseer's really socially in with everybody, look at how great he's playing. It's like, I have no clue where Naseer, I think I have less of a clue of where Naseer stands than Naseer has at this point, and I think that says something, because I don't think Naseer has any clue where he stands at.
Nah, agreed.
Yeah.
But he does have a good point, too, about the Flint, now I'm thinking about it. Really? He's like, listen, I have lived in abject poverty. You need fire. And they're like, all right, fuck. Yeah, we do. So.
Yeah. Well, do you like that as a wrinkle?
To take the Flint away?
Yeah, in terms of like making it like basically disincentivizing tribes from further challenges.
I mean, Ua hasn't lost hasn't won rather in like a week, and they still have a fire. So like, I don't know how actual like the threat might be worse than the reality of the situation.
Yeah, who was it? Somebody I think started a fire without Flint early, right? Or was that not a thing that happened?
I think it's just Naseer being able to start it with Flint when Deshaun couldn't start it with the Flint.
Sure.
Might be what you're thinking about.
Yeah. No. I mean, sure. I think that we've talked about this on like Big Brother, where it's like the have-not twist recently, or in like modern seasons of Big Brother. Is just so pointless. Despite the name of our podcast, our podcast is named around the concept of have-nots, but still, because of the way the show is edited, have-nots on Big Brother are very close to irrelevant, 99% of the time.
Yeah, they don't even show it.
Yeah, and I think similarly on Survivor, there's like so few like specific camp life sequences in terms of like the survival aspect these days that like making the camp life harder doesn't really translate to anything meaningful on screen, in my opinion.
Yeah.
And I don't necessarily love the idea of like, disadvantaging tribes from throwing challenges, because I think that throwing challenges, despite what Naseer and others are saying on the show, generally is good, I would say. In most cases, historically on Survivor, throwing challenges has worked out, from what I can recall. And in fact, if you look at like Survivor winners, and especially like in early seasons, most Survivor winners participated in throwing a challenge at some point, whether it's a tribal or individual.
Listen, Ben, tell that to the Zapatero tribe, all right? They were a bunch of bitches, and they threw their challenge, and look what happened to them.
Sure. Yeah.
No, that's really the one example I could come up with when I was like running it through.
Counter example. I guess also you could say the was Solani, or Solani was the woman tribe in One World? What was the men tribe that won immunity and then decided to go?
Malolo? Yeah.
Malolo, yeah.
That was a bad episode.
Real uncomfy. That was an episode for other reasons, yes. Yeah. But yeah, that's probably another instance where, like, I guess technically throwing a challenge, even though they didn't throw it, really, didn't work out.
No.
Um,
Good TV moment with
yeah.
Jeff's eyes. Like, what
But
the fuck, these idiots?
again, those two are examples of them doing that for like stupid petty reasons, as opposed to like actual like long-term strategic thought.
Yeah, and like honestly, the first time one was openly thrown was Survivor Africa, and I
Yeah.
would say that was like there was like the alliance being made in Borneo,
Yep.
and then the throwing the challenge was like the second big strategic moment of Survivor.
Yeah, I would agree. Yeah.
So like it has a long and storied and often successful history, like you say.
Yep. And then, yeah, again, we have instances of throwing individual immunities. Richard Hatch throwing the final immunity. Tina Wesson threw the final 10 immunity to guarantee the extra vote situation would play out in their favor. Vesapia threw the final immunity. And actually, no. Did she throw it? No, she won. No, yeah, she threw it to Nalia,
Yeah,
right?
no Leo
Yeah.
one. Yeah.
Yeah. After Kathy dropped. Brian Heidick threw numerous challenges and then one towards the end. I believe Jenna Raska also threw challenges. I believe Sandra, they also threw challenge. And Pearl Islands. Yeah, literally every single Survivor winner pretty much has thrown a challenge. It is a legitimate strategy when executed correctly and in the right time.
Honestly, the only one it backfired on in Pearl Islands was the guy whose idea it was to throw the challenge.
Yep.
But hey, it worked out for him
Yep.
a little bit in the end. So
same thing in Bill and One. Unfortunately.
Yeah.
So yeah, again, a little bit of an aside here, but it's been brought up 2 times in a row for some reason, even though it has not mattered. So I think it's worth talking about.
Yeah. And we get to flex our stupid Survivor knowledge,
Yep.
our pointless callbacks.
Yeah, I mean, if Survivor is going to be extremely meta and self-referential now, like, we should at least be referencing correct strategic, precedent, right? And the correct strategic precedent is that throwing challenges is usually strategically correct.
Yeah, but you know who's not going to throw a challenge? Fucking Xander. Dude's a beast.
Yep.
Like,
Yeah, he knows. I think that he at least has some level of feeling that he could be easily gone. Especially, I guess at this point, he knows his idol works, so he shouldn't feel like super in danger. But still, worth it to not have to waste your idol pre-merge if you can help it.
And Nasir, great job again, winning the challenge for Luvu.
Basically single-handedly.
Basically single-handedly again.
Yep.
Yeah, we can eat crow here. We thought that Yase was the disaster tribe. We openly said it before the season started. We kept the narrative going, and they've impressed me. They have a winning record now. They're 4-2. So.
Yeah. I mean, look, I think I was the one who was probably the least down on them keeping Tiffany. I guess the argument against keeping Tiffany, though, was probably more social than challenge-based in terms of, like, her being kind of like a loose cannon or being, like, distrustful or whatever. But, yeah, it does definitely, worked out in their favor, at least from the results-oriented perspective of, like, you don't necessarily have to immediately vote out one person because they do badly in one challenge one time.
No, it's a good point. And I feel like we lucked out getting Tiffany to the merge. Presumably. We don't know what's going to happen.
Yeah. As Jeff said in the preview.
Yeah. What does that mean, Jeff? Oh, man.
Yeah. We have a slow-mo shot of Ricard missing his, fourth target in a row.
It's like everyone can relate when you think you're looking really cool, you're doing something badass, and then it just goes horribly wrong.
Yep.
Oh,
yeah. Yeah, and now Ua is heading to their third consecutive tribal council. 4 out of 5 episodes now they have attended a tribal council.
Yeah.
Not great.
No, not at all. But we talked about it a little bit. The Edge of Extinction repurpose island thing is good this week. We got a little bit more
the social interaction is good. The result of it is bad.
Right. Yeah. But we got a little bit more to add to Shen's winter edit to be played at the reunion later. So that's good.
Yeah, I mean, like, come on, like this was like obviously this was about them two coming together and like probably setting up them working together after the merge. That's presumably what this is going to be about.
Yep.
But like this was like essentially like Liana was basically window dressing during this. This was like this was Shan's scene.
Yeah, it was, and I mean. I like joke, but it is starting to be like, okay, so Shen wins this season. Like, come on.
Look, I mean...
This is Natalie Anderson on Redemption Island saying she's going to win the game to avenge Nadia, levels of, like, foreshadowing at this point.
Yeah, no, this is even more ham-fisted than, like, Tommy Sheehan's edit Islands of the Isle. Yeah. And that was incredibly ham-fisted to the point where people were like just openly making fun of how obvious it was. So yeah, I don't know. I would be, again, I said this is like my 4th time in a row I've said this now. I would be a million times shocked if Shan's not the winner of this season.
Yeah, for real. She's fun. I like her a lot. So I'd be okay with it. But
for sure, yeah. Like I think that I mean, depending on how the rest of the season goes, if she's the winner, like there's got to be a conversation about if she's like top 10, top 5 player. Like the amount of like control that she has is wild.
And they're already setting up like the narrative of why Ricard might lose to her in the finals of like not getting any of the credit for any moves that he. And honestly, he's right because the show is not giving him credit for shit. Yeah. So
yeah, I mean, obviously, like all of the scene here we got from Shan is great. We get a lot more context about her background and her life. That it's kind of been hinted at in the episodes, but that we also were able to read a little bit of in the preseason and her bio of like her childhood upbringing and how she went from having like a rough upbringing and ending up in a gang to having like basically hitting her bottom in her life and then getting out of it and becoming a pastor. So just like a very, very unique and inspiring story.
Yeah, she's awesome.
Just
bottom line.
And we also get the story of her mother as well, and Liana is there, comforting her, and they bond over that. And we get a very, I would say, like, interesting, like, potential foreshadowing confessional from Shan, where she says that she's like bonded more with Liana in 3 hours than she's done with Ricard or Jeannie in like 10 days.
Yeah, it's so funny. Like sometimes, you spend time with people and that's great, but sometimes you just hit it off with people really, really hard, and it works really well. So we'll see what happens there. Hopefully, we can get Liana into the narrative of this season.
That would be nice, as given that she's my winner.
Yeah, exactly.
And look, this was probably her best episode. Like between this scene
for sure.
And then her obviously getting this wildly overpowered advantage that is going to catapult her to probably being one of the like 3 or 4 most powerful people in the game at this point just by default. I can't be too upset with the way it's playing out.
Yeah.
Oh
man.
So yeah, great scene. I wish that we talk about how like we really wish they'd stopped giving away so many extra votes. I wish they had just given away an extra vote here.
Yep. 100% co-sign that.
so that this episode could go from like a 7 or 8 out of 10 to like a 9 out of 10. But yeah, no. it sucks that that's how we wrapped up the scene. That was really good, but still very enjoyable and awesome sequence.
Yeah. And now we can talk about how Ricard is just unfortunate. He's got villain face. No one trusts him. It's the gray hair and like the goatee. Like that's the guy you cast as like the evil warlock in the Disney Channel original movie. Like it's unfortunate. He's a good looking guy, but he has villain vibes, and that's just it is what it is.
Yeah, and the ponytail or bun thing as well. Like the whole thing, it's like Jafar energy.
Yeah, it's just like, yeah, it's unfortunate because he seems like a cool dude, and he's obviously very smart and has a mind for the game, which doesn't help actually. It just makes it more like, oh, I knew it. I knew he was conniving, but yeah, even Shad can't trust him. They're in a Final Two alliance, presumably.
Yeah, no, it's rough, and it's like kind of like he's very much between a rock and a hard place here because I think he's self-aware of his position.
He is, yeah.
He's like, I'm in a great spot, but I'm also Shan's number 2, and if I remain Shan's number 2 this entire game, I'm going to lose, right? So he's essentially going to have to decide at some point, like, when am I going to be able to cut Shan without cutting my own game off the knees and allowing myself to be able to get further, which is like
he doesn't want to like war dog himself. Yeah, like, he like got hyper fixated on being Kelly's number 2, took Kelly Wentworth out, and then just went out himself. Like
it's always the like difficult scenario where you have like again like war dog on one side and you have like the Laurel on the other side, right? Where you have to cut your person at some point if you know that you can't beat them. But if you cut them too early, then you lose all of your leverage in the game potentially. But if you wait too long, especially with all these advantages, idols, twists, Final Four fire making, challenges, like there's so many opportunities for somebody to just get to a point in the game where they can't be voted out for the rest of the season. And like it's becoming more and more difficult for players who are in that position to get overturned without the people overturning them also then just getting overturned right after.
Yeah, and like it also reminds me during the long hiatus, I rewatched Survivor Palau, and Ian was in a very similar position with Tom, where Ian was like, I need to get Tom out, and then it just never came up. Like the right situation just never happened for him.
Yep, similar with like Tocantins, Steven, and JT, where a lot of people are critical of Steven, and even the people on the Tocantins jury were critical of Steven, like, why did you not take out JT? But if you look at the season as a whole, there's literally no opportunity to take out JT. The first vote where it would have made sense to cut him was where JT started an immunity streak till the end of the game. So it's unfortunate. Like sometimes you just can't. Sometimes it just isn't a possibility, right? And so I think Ricard is starting to like do that calculus in his head of like, when can I take out Shan without like kneecapping my game? And I think he legitimately does consider here whether he can pull it off at this vote and continue on.
Yeah, I mean, if he does lose in a jury vote to Shan, this might be the moment he looks back at and like, I maybe don't get to the end, but I think I maybe would have had a better chance of winning if I had just taken her.
Yeah, I mean, we do end up seeing that Genie does vote against Ricard at this vote, so maybe he doesn't even have.
He doesn't even have a chance. Yeah,
because Shannon just has things so locked down. So yeah, I don't know. I think it's interesting. I think it's it's one of the more interesting parts of Survivor, where when you have the social dynamic of somebody who is just perceived as being the mover and shaker among a pair or a trio or an alliance, and just like the rest of that group or the sidekick or whatever deciding like, how do I navigate this and put myself in a position where I can be the one to win. It's hard.
It's so hard. It's so hard. There's not a like right
There's
answer.
no easy answer.
Yeah.
Like a lot of people, it's very easy to arm. Like this is one of the most easily armchair quarterback situations, but it's very much like a lose-lose situation in a lot of
So
cases.
basically, what we're saying is you all need to fucking apologize to Laurel. You were really mean. Like I don't forget. You guys online were very rude to Laurel to the point where I think she left the Survivor community.
Yeah.
Which fair. Like you guys were fucking ruthless.
Yeah, yeah. No, I mean, look, yeah. Like, I think that on both sides, there's definitely people who are way too critical of the people who make the move too early and end up having their game fall apart because of it. And there's also people who are way too critical of people who wait too long to make the move because it is just such a Goldilocks situation. And in many situations in many seasons, that Goldilocks zone just doesn't exist, and so you can never win. And so no matter what you do, there's always going to be people at home being like, "Oh, you should have made the other decision and lost that way instead."
Right. And I mean, Ben and I have fought this battle before. We were on the front lines defending Gabby, trying to get Christian out of Survivor David versus Goliath, when everyone was saying she was dumb for trying to do it. But you can't win unless you do make this move. And, people, I don't know. People are just so results orientated online to where it's just unreal.
Yeah. Again, because the other option, people are critical of Gabby. I think the Gabby thing was mostly just because everyone loved Christian and they were emotionally upset that he was voted out and blamed Gabby. The other side of the coin is Gabby doesn't vote out Christian there, and they ride to the end game together, and then Christian just wins the jury vote, and everyone's like, Gabby, you were so stupid. Why did you go to the end with Christian and lose?
It'd be the same people.
Yeah, it'd be the same people.
Yep.
Just say on the other side of the argument. Being like, why didn't you do what I would have got angry at you for doing at Final 8?
Oh, man. So, Ricard, if you need a podcast to come on and defend any of your thoughts after the season, you're always welcome here.
Sure. Okay, so then I guess we could talk about this from Shan's perspective, because I do think, like we said, Jeannie votes for Ricard here. So Shan is the one who can actually make a decision. Mm-hmm. Do you think that she made the right decision?
I do. I think Ricard is a better survivor mind than Jeannie. I like Jeannie. Mm-hmm. She seems like a really nice person. If I was going into a merge as a 2, because you can't predict whatever Jeff's going to pull out of his pocket in the next episode. I'm just presuming the merge is at 12, like it usually is these days. If I'm going in with 2, I want Ricard by my side because I think Ricard can do some damage that Jeannie can't do.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. I think that this is probably counterintuitive to a lot of people who haven't really put themselves in the situation of playing Survivor and gone through that thought process, because potentially on paper you're Jeannie's so harmless and she's just going to be loyal to you and do what you tell her to. Isn't that way more valuable than somebody like Ricard, who maybe sometime down the road is going to try to cut you and win himself? But as far as value as an ally, I think loyalty is frankly really old.
Yeah. I agree.
I think loyalty to a point is important. You can't have somebody who is just lying to you constantly and actively trying to work against you now. But I think the value of somebody who can act as a sounding board, who can act as a strategic partner, and who you can especially use when you're in this sort of situation where it's 2 people against the world, where you can do a kind of a divide strategy, where you can each get more out of the interactions you have with the other players at a merge or at a swap together than you would alone. Because no offense to Jeannie, but I don't think that Jeannie is going to be putting the work in that Ricard is going to be able to, in terms of gathering allies, gathering soldiers behind them, and deceiving people to the end of both Shan and Ricard, and trying to think through different scenarios, right? Like these are all extremely valuable, and a lot of people like to think about themselves as like, oh, I'm like a strategic genius. I could do all of this myself. I don't need
Right.
I don't need a partner to help me, right? But like it's just not true. Like you can never think about every scenario and like think through everything and every possibility in every situation yourself. You're always going to miss something. You're always going to have a blind spot somewhere. And having an ally who is like trusted enough, who is capable of checking those blind spots for you, is super valuable.
Yeah, because like Ricard is, just think of it this way, Ricard is way more likely to get the heads up that they're gonna come for you than Genie is. If Genie's just like someone who people see as a +1 to you, they're not gonna like try to reel Genie in to do like strategies, you know?
Yep.
So like Ricard can actually get the intel and you guys can actually act on it together, and it's just I don't know. To me it seems very obvious, but maybe not.
Yeah, I mean, I hate like bringing in LRG stuff, but like, in every LRG I've played in, like I've had a strategic partner. You know, well, one of those instances, or in a couple of those instances, that strategic partner has been you, Brian.
Indeed, we've run it down very well together,
and it's just so invaluable to have somebody who like is able to like operate on the same level as you and like think through things, because like I said, you can't think of everything and you can't cover every base, you can't be in every conversation, you can't recruit every ally, right? You need help, right? And somebody like this is like the as much as people like obviously reasonably shit on Russell Hantz for bringing Natalie White along, this was Russell's reasoning for wanting Natalie as his ally headed into the merge, was because he saw Natalie as valuable in that instance of recruiting allies, because he saw her as sociable and as somebody who would be able to manipulate the other tribe into flipping. And he was correct in that instance.
Very correct. I mean, because you think about it, it came down to Ashley and Natalie,
and then Liz Kim,
and then Liz and Natalie, and he just felt like Natalie was more valuable. And Foa does not get to the final 5 intact without Natalie. Like, just no way. And a lot of times when people are like, "Well, I'm worried they'll cut me," if you do like have a bond with somebody as a strategic partner, oftentimes it's like you're back to back, shooting, trying to like just make it. And if you're gonna cut each other, it's at the very end. Yes. Like at the last second, and then it's like no real hard feelings there because you're both thinking the same thing. So
yeah, no, 100%. There's very very few instances where you're cutting somebody like that until in the final 2 season, the final 3 or final 4, and then the final 3 season, the final 4, final 5. You just kind of. It's mutually beneficial for you to it's kind of like a mutually assured destruction, similar to what we talked about before.
Yep.
Where if you're like going to War Docket or you're going to Gabby it, right? You're just going to end up getting voted out next.
Yeah, and so I'm looking forward to seeing these two at the merge. If we ever get a merge, who knows what Jeff's gonna do?
I don't know. I mean, we'll see how this plays out. Like, we'll see. I guess.
I have a theory that when we get through the tribal council, I want to put out there. I don't. It will probably not be right, but yeah.
I mean, I have no theories. I'm curious to hear what your theory is.
It's not that crazy. So.
Yeah, I mean, my only theory would be like going to 2 tribes for like 1 vote.
Right.
But I don't think that's it. So. For this tribal council, though, this does boil over because, when this whole UA situation with the idol played out, they did make a plan where they were going to go behind Genie's back. Shan was going to take the idol for herself. They were going to hide a fake idol in this place, which I have no idea how that would have played out.
Yeah.
We don't even talk about that because it's not relevant, but
no.
The idea of like a fake idol that theoretically could have been worthless if they okay, I just want to play through this really quick because this is another situation where the producers are like completely lacking, right?
Yeah.
say Genie finds a fake idol, and the seer does not find the Lulu idol, right? So now Genie thinks that she has a real idol that negates her ability to vote. How does that work when she goes up to vote? Does she then see that she gets to vote, and she's like, wait, I have this idol, though, producers? And they're like, do you know?
So here's, and I think Survivor, I believe it was Millennials versus Gen X where this happened, where I think it crossed the line. I don't think you should be able to have a fake idol wrapped in the idol, like, congratulations, you found a hidden immunity idol thing. I think the idols are way too, like, abstract in what they look like, especially now where they go out of their way to make them look like shitty arts and crafts time. Like, I think you shouldn't be able to trick somebody in that way because you don't have anything in Survivor other than like those pieces of parchment that are like official or what Jeff says. So like, to me, I feel like if you're gonna do a fake idol, you have to do it like Bob Crowley style, where it's like, I found the idol, here you go, this is the idol, you know?
Yeah, I agree. I think that it has to either be a Bob Crowley style or like I'm going to make a fake idol and pretend that I have the idol to like try to bluff people.
Yes, I just don't, because it's like who was it in Millennials versus Gen X? Jay, who found it and got voted. Like,
there's David's.
What was he supposed to do? Like, it looked real enough, and it had the thing.
Or the entire ridiculous endgame of Edge of Extinction, where Rick Devens makes 4,000 fake idols just to entertain himself.
Yeah, because he had 4,000 pieces of congratulations, you found a hidden immunity idol parchment.
Yeah.
I just, I don't like it. And now Survivor, because since they let it go, then they have to let it go now, and it just makes everything way too messy.
Yeah, because again, like, what do you do here? What is like? It doesn't come up because Genie is not going to find the fake idol, or apparently not going to go try and grab the idol when it's become clear that it's now active, right? And not going to, I guess, going to get voted out here, so it doesn't matter. So it's not like she's going to find because she's in the game, but. What would have happened in that situation? How do you think that plays out?
I think the producers say, no, you can't get the idol. It's not active yet. You can only activate it at the next tribal or next challenge.
No. I'm saying, how does it play out when Genie thinks that she has a non-active Beware Advantage idol, but it's actually a fake idol,
and she doesn't think she's going to be able to
lose her vote?
Ben, you're asking me questions the producers don't know the answers
to.
Nobody thought it through.
Like, the producers just have to tell her she has a fake idol?
Yep. That's like, at a certain point. They're like, fuck, we didn't anticipate something like this, so...
Yeah.
Cat's out of the bag, I guess. And then she would be like, oh, okay, I am definitely playing my shot in the dark then.
Yes, 1,000,000%, yeah.
Man.
I don't know. Yeah, I just wanted to, another aside where I just like rant about how like the twists are internally inconsistent and there's all these loopholes that can completely break the way that the game works.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Jesus.
Anyways, so because Shan finds or takes the idol that was found by Genie and left there, pretends she didn't, fake activates the idol that actually really activates the idol, puts a fake idol in the place of it. She, before the challenge, thinks that she's going to not have her vote potentially. So proactively, I don't know why proactively, could have 1,000,000% waited until after the immunity challenge, gives the extra vote to Ricard and says, now if I don't have my vote, then you will have 2 votes versus Genie's 1, and we can still vote her out. or you can still vote her out. You'll have the one vote to eliminate. Basically.
Basically,
you will vote. You will cast all of the votes.
Exactly. So, yeah, it's just so funny because she stole the extra vote from JD and snaked it so hard that Ricard is like, I know what you're capable of, so I'm not giving this back. Which, fucking, yes, good move, Ricard.
That's correct.
Yeah.
I think we can pontificate about alliance value or like that. Easy. Do not give this back.
No. Oh my god. So yeah, he, unlike JD, knew exactly what to do.
Yeah.
And stuck to his guns.
Yeah. Imagine that. The smart player is still in the game and JD is not.
Right. Oh man.
But yeah, obviously, if you even in the back of your mind think for a second that there's a chance that Shan is voting you out, right? You're not going to give her extra power by doing that. It's wild to do that. So yeah. And again, this is also on Shan, because there was no reason for Shan to give up the extra vote proactively. She could have waited until they lost and known whether or not the idol was active.
Right.
So, and if she had waited, she wouldn't have even had this confrontation.
Oh man.
Yeah, but ultimately, it was drama for naught.
Yes. So Jeannie, very fun character. Liked her a lot. Enjoyed her on the show. But if we had to lose Jeannie to get, Shan and Ricard to the merge, I'm okay with that.
Yeah, I agree. I think that the Shan and Ricard story is going to be probably one of, if not the major storyline of the season. And I think that they could be the Steven JT, the Don and Wendell, the Denise and Malcolm of the season. And I think that's potentially where we're going. I don't know if you think the same. Or
no, I agree. I agree. I think at this point, it's set up so much.
Yeah.
To just have one of them get sniped right at the merge or something would be okay, that's very not narratively fulfilling for what we've been spending our time on.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
Oh man.
Right. So I think that this is where we're going. I think that if that is the case, is it a little bit annoying that it's kind of being taken off this part? Maybe, but I'm interested enough in the story, and I'm more than happy with if Shan is the winner. I'm more than happy to watch that story unfold. That I'm not super upset with it being kind of telegraphed, specifically. So.
Yeah, no, same here. And, the Survivor editors, they got to get back into the swing too. If they were we got to tell a pretty straightforward story for this one, I understand. So maybe in the future it'll be different. But I guess here's my pitch, Ben. Here's what I think they're gonna do. So obviously no one remembers Survivor Thailand. I think that goes without saying.
I referenced it earlier on the podcast.
That's true. You did.
Yeah.
But I just mean in the sense that I think every year somebody was this has never happened before.
Yeah.
What if they do a tribe swap, but one world them onto the same beach, or Survivor Thailand them onto the same beach, so they all can still talk to each other and influence strategy and give advantages and all that, but they're still technically two tribes.
Okay, so you think they are going to go to 2 and not stay in the 3? I guess they can't really stay in the 3 unless they Ula and Ua.
Right. Yeah.
So, do you think that they're going to do a full reshuffle, or are they going to?
I think they're going to.
Are they going to combine Yasa and Ua, or are they going to do? What are they going to do here?
I think they're going to do a full reshuffle.
Okay. My issue with a full reshuffle, though, is that gives Luvu so much power.
Yes, of course. I mean, maybe they end up on a 4-2 split and then
maybe, but more likely both tribes are going to be 3-2-1. I think statistically,
right.
Where it's going to be a lot easier for the Luvus to flip one of the two or one, as opposed to like the Luvus to break up. But yeah, that would be interesting, I guess. So basically, like a fake merge, but they're told up front that it's a fake merge.
Yeah, I doubt they're gonna do like. I really did like an
Jeez.
All Stars where they like very heavily were like, I actually they did the fucking same thing they did in Survivor Thailand, where they very heavily were like, oh, hang out with one person from the other tribe,
Yep.
get to know each other, and then it's like, yep, here's the urn and Mogo Mogo colors came out. Like I liked that a lot. I don't think they're gonna do it that way. But I think they'll be straight up with them and be
Or
like,
the Gabon way.
yeah, that was good actually. I liked that in Gabon.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely massively screwed over the Onions when they were completely dominating position. But it was very good narratively between the idol from the ocean into the fake merge, into fake tribe split, into the Marcus Blindside.
I loved too how they just very, very blatantly were going to merge at that point and then
Yep.
decided not to, and we're like, we're not making a new challenge. This is the challenge. Whoever wins the whole thing for their tribe.
Yeah,
That was great.
yeah. No, we're running into conspiracy theories here between the All Star situation and then the Gabon fake merge.
Yeah, I mean,
A lot of conspiracies.
if they don't want Luvu to steamroll, they can stack the buffs. They're not above it. we've seen it.
I feel like they might want. I don't know. Do you think they want Lufu to steamroll? I feel like they've invested a lot into Nasir, especially, and then also like Deshaun and Danny as like potential like heroic figures or strategic figures, and even like Sid, and to a lesser extent Erica, as like kind of potential like long-term villains. I don't know. I think there's an argument that there's like story they want to explore there.
Yeah. And I mean, who knows? In the preview, we saw Deshaun kind of seemingly talking about the twist while in a Luvu buff still. And, they have the Buff-O-Matic where they can change the color of the buff. They've done that in the past. They've actually even just removed the colors of the buff, if we're going to talk about Survivor Gabon again, which was very tacky, but loved it.
Yeah.
So who knows what that means.
Yeah, I mean, we'll see. I guess I have to wait another week. I do think that, again, I think that keeping 3 tribes this long is very interesting. I think it's one of the better decisions they made in Philippines. This is even longer. This is 5 votes versus 4.
Yeah, because Matt Singh couldn't get out of their own way enough to let them do it any further.
Right. Yeah. I mean, at least there have been 2 non-Uers voted out. So yeah, 1 extra episode and 2 extra vote outs here. That this has lasted in 3 tribes before we get to some kind of situation.
Yeah, it'll be interesting no matter what. So I'm excited for it. The season is turning around slowly. It's like a ship at sea where it just takes a long time to turn around. But hopefully once it's turned around, we're full steam ahead into a really good end game.
It's like the ship that got trapped in the Suez Canal, right?
Mm-hmm. We're just waiting. We're digging at the sides, and we're just hoping that we're hoping that things get back to normal. / also hoping that another barge immediately does the same thing, because that'd be really funny.
Yeah, hoping that that we can get through this without these advantages completely, dismantling some sort of interesting strategic or social situation that we have going on.
Yeah, that is an evergreen to getting stuck again. If that happens, so we'll see.
Yeah.
Very timely, Ben, talking about shipping struggles right now. Look at us.
That also does remind me that Liana might actually have access to information about a 5th advantage, because Evie knows that Deshaun
has an extra vote. You're right. She's just the oracle, just like above everyone.
Right.
And you're like, I see all.
She potentially has access to every piece of information except for the Shan Ricard extra vote.
Yeah, and she might as well just have every advantage in the game right now. Whatever she wants, she's gonna get.
She fundamentally does have access to every advantage in the game, and can basically decide, whether or not she wants to win the season, right? So,
right. Oh man.
Yeah.
So good for her. Anything else? I think we covered it. I think we did a real good job. We talked about 30 seasons of Survivor in this one episode.
Yeah.
We talked about LRGs.
This is a bad one if Dylan's going to listen to this back in terms of spoiling.
Yeah. I got to warn him.
Yeah.
By the way, we spoiled every season of Survivor.
Yeah.
It all came up kind of organically somehow. But
yeah. Well, I mean, look, again, when we have players, and this is something that frustrates me on Big Brother, frustrates me on Survivor, when players talk about just blatantly incorrect strategic precedent, gotta flex that historical knowledge in some way.
Gotta put them in their place.
Yeah.
You gotta let us know. And then it'll be very hilarious if one of us ever go on Big Brother or Survivor and flame out, and then be like, these motherfuckers talked so much shit, and then this is what happened.
There's a difference between knowing what to do and doing it. All right.
True.
You can know the correct strategic decisions, but be socially incompetent. But I challenge Survivor, Big Brother. Put me on. I have enough of an ego. I have enough of an ego to think that I would win.
Mm-hmm. It would be very good for our ratings. Please put him on.
Yeah. Anything else?
No, I think that's it. This is a lot of fun, as always. I've had a ton of fun on all our Survivor podcasts this week. Hopefully we'll be getting Dylan back soon. He was thinking maybe he was going to be on tonight. Didn't work out. But we will see him soon, because I'm dying to know what he's thinking about what's happening here. We'll get a little lowdown on the JD situation, and then this episode and whatever else from him the next time he's back on. Yeah, no, it sucks. He missed probably the two best episodes of the season back to back, and also the episode where his winner pick is voted out. So a lot to potentially cover next week if he is back. Other than that, you want to shout out some social media stuff, Brian? Sure. All right. So, hey, follow me on Twitter at @thefakebmar. That's BMARR. Make sure my algorithms aren't being suppressed or whatever Donald Trump Jr. said that one time. And then you can find me also on Wicked Good Sports as a spinoff of our main channel, Wicked Good Everything, and of course this channel where I talk about, sports, sporting topics, focus on football myself, but we have people like Jack and Chris who focus on basketball and hockey, and then Chad from the Have Not Room will talk a little bit about Patriots. Ben, we got to get you back on there. You were on a stream once, the one stream we did for that channel. But yeah, we'll get you back on there, and we also have a TikTok for Wicked Good Sports, just Wicked Good Sports on TikTok, and that's all I have to plug. Look, if the Sox win the World Series, I'll come on and talk about that. We do. All right, you guys better do it. I don't know what the score is currently right now. Yeah, I haven't checked. We'll see. It wasn't looking great before we got on. Astros too good. You can follow me on Twitter, @BenSharon, and you can follow the main channel on Twitter, WG Everything, and then on Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, Facebook, and Twitch, Wicked Good Everything. This channel is Better Radio, and this is Blindsiders Podcast, where we talk about Survivor. And other than that, we'll be back next week to talk about Episode 6 of Survivor 41. Absolutely. Thanks for listening, everybody. Thanks for listening.